Here's where it starts to lead itself into more of a bigger sort of political issue, which I think is interesting. That we're going to jump into, and this involves China. We had a little technical issue there, everybody, but we're back. So we were talking about China and how the wokeness thing kind of bleeds into it, and I'll get into that in a second. It seems roundabout, but it's actually kind of a straight line. But I want to do this clip here. So this is the Majority Report, and this is Emma Vigilant, and she's doing a clip of Nikki Haley, who's running for president. I think she's the governor of South Carolina. Anyway, Nikki Haley has kind of stepped in this week, but she says some stupid stuff. But we're going to listen to it, and we're going to go over it real quick because she kind of gives away a little bit of the game here.
And a lot of them just don't really seem to have coherent definitions for what it actually is. But Nikki Haley is convinced that wokeness is the number one threat that we are facing right now.
And this is a big issue in the Republican primary as well, woke and wokeness, and what that means for families around the country. You're quoted saying wokeness is a virus more dangerous than any pandemic, hands down. So for those families who look at you saying that and say, I don't know if wokeness, this pandemic took my family member, what do you say to them?
Well, I have friends and family members. My sister-in-law died from COVID. So, look, there's no one closer to it than our family, and we share that grief with all the other families. And that's the reason why I think we need to hold China accountable for exactly what they did to many families. But when you talk about wokeness...
And that's where it is. So, skirting off, my sister-in-law died. That's not important. What's important here is wokeness is a virus. Worse than any pandemic. Even the one that killed over 1 million Americans, including my sister-in-law. She was a bitch anyway. We didn't. That's kind of what she did, man. Jesus. So.
Wow.
But see, you notice how she jumps from wokeness directly to China. So this goes back to a lot of things. So this goes back to the anti-communism crap in the 50s, the conservatives.
Scare crap.
The Red Scare stuff. Then it goes forward and, China is a big country. They're the second biggest economy next to us. And they do compete with us economically, and they are competing with us economically. And we'll get into some of that in a minute here because it's going to affect currencies and things like that going forward. But the interesting thing is they're moving. This is the Republican primary for the president. This is the big issue, wokeness in China. These are the two big things. And if you forget, what happened is Trump, when he started his presidency, had this whole thing about China's lying to us, they're cheating us, they're taking our jobs.
All right, he used to say it, China.
So China was taking our jobs. Remember, he started a trade war with China that ended up jacking up tariffs. Part of what caused the surplus problem during the pandemic. And I want to show you, this is part of what started that and kind of how it started. Is one, there are a lot of people on the right who are very hawkish against China. Like they want to go to some sort of war with China, which would be stupid, and which probably is never going to happen. But I wanted to go back. This is an older clip from last week tonight. And since HBO has never sued us yet, we're going to steal another one until they say something. I'm pretty sure John Oliver wouldn't care. But
if they send us a cease and desist, we will.
We will. We'll just call John Oliver and apologize. But I want to show you this.
So maybe he'll want to join us.
Yeah, maybe.
If any of you know John Oliver and he wants to come on the show.
Yeah, he can come on the show anytime he wants.
Email address is linked below. Okay.
We'll send him a gift basket even. So this is kind of how the whole trade war started with China. And it is way stupider than you think. So it's this guy, Peter Navarro.
I already think it's going to be real stupid, so...
Oh, it's super stupid. So, Peter Navarro here. This is the trade guy for Trump.
The author of a series of get-rich investment books. And like Trump, he's obsessed with trade deficits in general and China in particular, saying trade with China is a zero-sum game, meaning one country can only win if the other country loses. And it is hard to overstate just how rare his views are among economists. When the New Yorker profiled him, they asked Navarro to help them find even one colleague who agreed with him. He gave them two names. One was Peter Morisi, a University of Maryland professor who said of Navarro, he has a rather severe position. That zero-sum statement, I have a problem with that. Where's his proof? And the other was a blogger named Alan Tonelson, who Navarro described as a fine economist, to which Tonelson replied, I do not hold an economics degree. and I'm guessing Tonelson also doesn't hold a degree in web design, because this is the photo on the About page of his blog. So if you are understandably wondering at this point, then how on earth did Navarro get a job at the fucking White House? Well, it is way dumber than you are thinking. Apparently, Jared Kushner was tasked with finding Trump experts on Chinese trade, and this is how he went about it.
So Jared went on Amazon. He fired up his computer and he found some of Peter Navarro's books, and he asked him to come to the White House. That's how Peter Navarro ended up in the White House.
Yep. Jared looked for experts on Amazon. That was his rigorous process. So when Jeff Sessions does get fired, be prepared for him to be replaced by Crystal Caswell, author of the erotic fiction novel Dangerous Rock, A Dangerous Noise Novel, because, for whatever reason, that is honestly the first thing that came up when we typed good law person, parentheses, smart, into Amazon.
So that was how...
Your fight is so much stupider than I even thought. That's not good. Oh, jeez.
But Navarro's biggest thing is, once again, he's very hawkish on China. He thinks that we have to go to some sort of economic war with China. His big thing, too, is he did like a documentary, and they're going to show you a clip from it because it's freaking stupid as hell. But this is what starts this. But it's, once again, stoking up all the anti-communist, and it's a lot of the, anti-Asian, racism from the past. But that started early in Trump's presidency, and that worked for a lot of conservatives. They liked that. But here was Navarro's clips from his documentary. I'll show you in a second.
Now, the Navarro book that Jared found was called Death by China. And it paints the US-Chinese trade relationship in apocalyptic terms, because while there are some legitimate complaints about China's unfair practices, they've deliberately depressed their currency, they violate intellectual property rights, and arguably skirt WTO rules, this book goes way further, with chapter titles featuring phrases like Shanghaiing the gene pool and Look, Ma, there's a Death Star pointing at Chicago. Navarro actually turned the book into a movie that one critic called the documentary equivalent of a raving street corner derelict, which seems harsh until you see how the movie begins.
The film you're about to see addresses one of the most urgent problems facing America. Its increasingly destructive trade relationship with the rise in China.
It starts like that. Its warm-up is a literal knife being stabbed into the heart of America. And if you're worried that that leaves it with nowhere to go, please don't be concerned, because there are even less subtle animations to come, which depict China's trade practices as guns and bombs that blow up American factories, and stunningly deceptive moments like this.
China has stolen thousands of our factories and millions of our jobs. Multinational corporation profits are soaring, and we now owe over $3 trillion to the world's largest.
Okay, so this is all anti-China propaganda crap, right? So, first off, trade deficits they're not a government deficit. It just means that our companies bought more than we sold to that country. That's all it is. It's not like it's sitting in some bank somewhere, right? It's not like the Chinese have some Scrooge McDuck money pit titled "Dumb Americans' Money." It's not what's going on. But that's how all this starts. So now you have a lot of the anti-Chinese sentiment, the wokeism stuff coming from the other side, and then the pandemic hits. And where's the pandemic start? In Wuhan, China. China. And so now it's kind of all this gets blended. And then what happens is you run into the Twitter hearings and the TikTok hearings recently, right? Because TikTok's owned by China. And what are all the Republicans pissed about? These companies are being woke and censoring our speech and all this stuff, when what they're censoring is you're saying things that are untrue about the pandemic that are getting people killed. So now they've blended the two together. So these two lines came and crossed at this point during the pandemic. And then you had a lot of that anti-Chinese sentiment. You had Asian hate crimes spiked during the pandemic. And they're still up because people blame the Chinese for the pandemic. And there's still a lot of conspiracies that they started it on purpose as a bioweapon or something, which is all nuts. But anyway, but this is the thing. So they did the TikTok hearings recently. We'll go through that real quick. But this is kind of what it is. It's basically just bullshit to blame China. It's jingoistic crap. And you're going to see some of it right here. And I think this is the majority report again, but we're going to just watch this clip.
Really hoping we can get that done, and I'm really excited about hearing that from folks. The other thing is that TikTok needs to be an American company with American values and its ties to the Chinese Communist Party. This is something that'll be critical as we look and go forward. And then 3, we all agree we have to protect our kids. The committee should consider banning the use for children under 13 of not just TikTok, but all social media platforms, or at least empower parents. In addition, have rules of the road for teens that are 13 to 17 so that families can do what's right for their families. So for privacy, that's on us. Internet privacy is on us. As far as being an American company, Mr. Chu, as you know, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States at the Department of Treasury reviews foreign investment that affects national security. Right now, they've negotiated with your company about this Oracle setup that you've talked about, servers in an American company in America and Texas, and then Oracle would monitor the algorithms. But pressure is mounting. So, Mr. Chu, would TikTok be prepared to divest from ByteDance and Chinese Communist Party ties if the Department of Treasury instructed you all to do so?
Congressman, I said in my opening statement, I think we need to address the problem of privacy. I agree with you. I don't think ownership is the issue here. With a lot of respect, American social companies don't have a good track record with data privacy and user security. I mean, look at Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, just one example. So I do think that, it is not about the ownership. It is a lot about making sure we have Project Texas, making sure that we're protecting and firewalling U.S. user data from unwanted foreign access, giving third parties to come in to have a look at this, and making sure that everybody is comfortable. We're giving transparency and third-party monitoring, and that's what we're doing for Project Texas.
Well, so, okay, I just have a lot of thoughts about this. The United States certainly does not have a good history with...
So we're going to just listen to them for a second, but this is where it all kind of boils together.
Data privacy. I'm old enough to remember the Edward Snowden revelations and the documents showing essentially how the U.S. was able to open the door into data privacy in places like Google and get people's data in mass with a dragnet. And we know that these companies have nearly incredibly close, I don't want to say symbiotic, but very close relationships with our governments in both the form of say campaign contributions, lobbying, and literal federal contracts. And I would not be shocked if Meta's extensive lobbying efforts, extensive campaign contributions, both in the form of dark money and what we have publicly, which trends a little bit more democratic, but we know that these companies, like the crypto guys bragging that he does it behind the scenes to Republicans, so that's probably the case with a lot of these companies, that they had a heavy influence over the tenor of that hearing yesterday, because Meta owns Instagram. That is the number one competitor to TikTok right now. So
she hits the nail on the head right there. This whole thing, at the end of the day, come on, they're trying to make it into this woke thing. No, TikTok needs to have American values. By American values, he means evangelical conservative values. I mean, he's being pretty clear. He's making it a political issue in that sense. She makes it a point, no, this is a financial issue that politics has bled into, because a lot of people campaign on social media, and that's where they get a lot of votes. And there's a lot of money flowing through. And Meta, which owns Facebook, which was Facebook, right, owns Instagram. And they have a lot of conservative contributors, and conservatives use Facebook a lot to campaign and do a lot more successfully than liberals do. So this is not, it's a political issue for them, the Republicans, right, in a sense, but it's also a financial issue for the corporations. Because Meta really doesn't give a shit who wins the election as long as it's good for Meta. Do you think they really care about abortion rights? Do you think they really care about whether or not we get Social Security or child tax credits or any? No, they don't care. They're playing a game. And a lot of this is, well, we're going to scare the fact that TikTok is also in line with China. So therefore, they must be anti-American. And this is sort of the game that's being played. So yeah, so anyway, that's